Hi, you're listening to Slightly Off Center, a space for quiet observations on design, perception, and the shapes meaning takes in everyday life. I'm glad you're here. Today's reflection is called Same People, Different Rooms. I have to admit something. I've become one of those people who rely on social media, especially X, as their personal notice board. When the trains are delayed, when the internet goes down, when public services hiccup, that's where I go first. It's oddly reliable for finding out what's broken in the world on any given day. But a few weeks ago, while casually browsing through my feed, something shifted my attention from service interruptions to something much more fascinating. I started wondering, is X actually a public space? And if so, what defines a public space anyway? The modern concept of public space took shape around the 18th century. These were rooms, physical spaces designed to serve social functions that simply didn't exist before. Coffee houses where strangers could debate philosophy. Department stores where people could browse and discover. Spaces created for meaningful human connection, commerce, consumption. Our era has similar spaces: libraries, shopping malls, coffee shops. But then COVID arrived and trolled the world with lockdowns, and suddenly the idea of public space seemed to shift entirely from offline to online. I remember when lockdown was first imposed, people were caught completely off guard. The feeling of isolation was real because we had evolved to be social, to share experiences, to seek group connections. When COVID hit, that pattern was disrupted, and people had nowhere to turn except digital spaces. The online world offered similar functionality to what physical public spaces provided. It invited people to speak their minds, exchange ideas, get news, find inspiration. Digital space seemed to shrink interpersonal distance and speed up the exchange of ideas. But what was the trade-off? While scrolling through X aimlessly one day, I witnessed something that made me think. As tensions between countries were rising, world political leaders were firing off their opinions and reactions on the platform. It was much like paper propaganda being distributed during wars in the not-so-distant past, except now it existed online, and global users could react to these threads directly and instantly. What struck me as particularly interesting was that the propaganda wasn't limited to one side, it was multi-sided. My feed was swamped with content from all sides, everyone arguing and validating their points, trying to gain exposure and ground. I found myself wondering, if these leaders are posting on X and other social media platforms, and I'm sure they can see each other's posts, why don't they just talk to each other? Or was it all just a smoking bomb for others to see? Of course, there were always political reasons behind these dynamics, but it got me thinking from a personal perspective. The conflicts and hate speech that prevailed in the digital world made me wonder if the problem lies in how people interact with each other in any given space or room. The scroll felt endless, like a void. Everyone was just dumping their opinions into this space without any true purpose. And then I had a thought. Perhaps any public space without a purpose could become chaotic. But in those with a purpose, people can coexist harmoniously, like a birthday party. My little one was invited to a birthday party recently. At the party, there were people with different cultural backgrounds, but we weren't fighting or arguing. We were simply there to celebrate a boy's birthday and wish him well. With a common goal in mind, the space served its purpose and gave people a sense of belonging. It struck me that humans evolved to be social and to thrive in group settings. Perhaps the sense of belonging is the true reason behind all that content dumping we see online, to create or follow trends, or to become part of a greater group. There's an old Chinese saying, "This room is different from that room." Both digital and physical rooms serve the purpose of hanging out, sharing experiences, finding belonging. But the goals are different. One is more like an open area, though with rules, where users are allowed to express their takes on anything. The other is like a close-knit group with a specific goal in mind. Knowing that X serves well as a notice board, bringing in ideas and information from around the world that stirs up conversations, maybe we can be more conscious about the room we're entering. Perhaps by seeing any space as neutral, we recognize that it's the energy and people who change the dynamic of the space. Same people, different rooms. The space itself shapes how we show up. If this reflection resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe to Slightly Off Center. I share weekly thoughts on how we navigate the spaces, both digital and physical, that shape our connections with each other and ourselves. Thanks for spending this time with me in this particular room. Until next time, go gently.